The annual Global Development Awards competition grants 2 awards to recognise excellence in policy-oriented research and innovative social development projects. The Japanese Award for Outstanding Research and Development supports the research capacity development of researchers in low and middle-income countries. And the Japanese Award for Most Innovative Development Project funds social development projects benefiting marginalised groups in developing countries. Run by the Global Development Network since 2000, roughly $4 million has been granted to researchers and social initiatives around the world. The Global Development Awards competition recently celebrated its 20th year, and the impact of these 20 years is demonstrated in the competition's independent impact reports. The grants have a positive impact on research skills, career advancement, and follow-up funding. And the majority of research papers from grantees have been recognised nationally or internationally for their quality. The grants help to increase professional network collaborations and tend to exceed the expectations of organisations and individuals and enable skill development. The professional growth of the grantees increases visibility and recognition among research, policymaking and NGO circles, as well as stimulating further projects, publications and funding. The awards offer a platform for participants, both researchers and NGOs, to increase their networks and project recognition to national and international audiences, and the winners often see national and international replication of their research or development projects.
Welcome everybody who's joining us today for the 2023 finals. Well, the finals of the 2023 edition of the Global Development Awards competition. My name is Francesco Bino and I head the Research and Program Unit at GDN that implements and manages this program. So we had this is the final session of the 2023 edition. We had the finals for the Outstanding Research and Development category of the awards yesterday, and today we're having the finals for the Most Innovative Project Development Award, MIDP. For those of you who don't know the competition, I'm just going to go through a few slides so that you can get a sense of the program overall. The theme this year is the Nexus of Education, Development and Human Security, and we'll look at this in a little bit more detail in just a second. This is, you know, we should recognize the fact that this is the longest standing program of the Global Development Network, and specifically this category of MIDP also has the largest grants that GDN currently awards and manages. We're very, very proud of the fact that the Ministry of Finance of the Government of Japan has been supporting financially this program since 2000, so it's over 2 decades, and we're also very very proud of the partnership along all these years with the PHLT Trust Fund at the World Bank. Over the past 2 decades, we've been giving grants out to researchers and in development NGOs for up to $4 million for projects that last between 12 and 24 months. Of course, all the applicants, all the winners come from low and middle income countries. This category is very unique for GDN. As many of you might already know, GDN exists to advance research, policy-relevant research on development issues. So for us, it's very unique to actually fund implementation projects. But this is the case. And in fact, we've been working over the years to create bridges between our work on research and our work on implementation for this specific program. And we now pair the winners of the ORD category, so the researchers, with the NGOs that get a scale-up grant of $200,000 so that they can work together on scaling up a very innovative project. As I said, this year's, well, the 2023 edition focuses on the nexus of education, development, and human security. And it basically, we asked NGOs and civil society organizations from low and middle income countries to share the innovative projects that they are running at this complex intersection. Of course, we gave a number of sub-themes for the competition, but really expect the applicants, the NGOs, to come up with an original kind of approach to this complex nexus. How did we get here to today? We carry out a systematic review process for all applicants that includes, of course, an eligibility screening done in-house by GDN, desk review of the proposal submitted, and then we actually collaborate with an external agency to do due diligence in terms of the business review, the review of the systems and processes at the level of the applying organization. That includes also site visits whenever possible, and ultimately all of these projects go through the screening of safeguards in place at the World Bank. For those of you who are connecting because you are interested in this opportunity, please be aware that we are running some Q&A sessions and information sessions on the program at the dates indicated in May, both in May and in April. You'll see the dates on the screen, and you can also find details on our website. The 2024 edition has been launched, so those sessions will be about the open call for this program. What do we look for in the projects that we receive in the selection process? We of course look for innovations. Innovations which have started to be implemented. So it's quite unique because we look at projects that have already started, but have a high potential to innovate development approaches to benefit the most marginalized communities. Of course, we look at the clarity of objectives and strength of the kind of results and activities and the link between all of these in the projects. We look obviously at the sustainability of the social impact the project proposes to have. It's a scope for scaling up or scaling out, right, for expansion. We of course look very carefully at the risks that the projects entail. And of course, we look also at the capacity of the organization to implement what they propose in terms of HR management, financial management, policies in place, and of course, adherence to the safeguards that the World Bank has set for all its grantees. In line with the kind of DNA and of what GDN does, we do much more than just giving out grants. So for all past grantees know this. Prospective grantees don't always know this. It's not actually to be taken for granted. We try to accompany applicants, prospective applicants from very early stages through the webinars and information sessions I mentioned before, but we also give the finalists, the three project leads will be presented today, communications training so that they can actually make the most of this public session today and pitch the project. During the implementation, we also pair the projects with experts, world-class experts that join the project as independent advisors, and that follow the team and advise the team throughout the implementation. And of course, we are also in touch with the teams regularly and share kind of the big decisions and solutions to challenges that may come up. As I mentioned before, we introduced a new possibility for winners of the research category of this award and the implementation category of this award to work together around the scale up of our projects. Today, the three finalists will present in front of a jury, which has 5 members. Let me just introduce them, and you'll see them soon on the screen. We have Izumi Ono, who's a professor emeritus at GRIPS in Japan, and also a senior research advisor at the JICA Ogata Sadako Research Institute for Peace and Development, who has been supporting this program for years now. Thank you, Ono-san. We have Professor Jean-Louis Arcan, the president of GDN, and also professor at the Graduate Institute in Geneva, in Switzerland. We have Julie Biao, who's operations officer at the World Bank, a key partner, operational partner for us in the implementation of this program. We have Professor Marta Reynal-Querol, who's a professor at Universitat Pompeu Fabra and at the Barcelona School of Economics in Spain, and also the director of the Institute of Political Economy and Governance in Spain. And we're also very proud to count among our board members at GDN, along with actually Ono-san, and the final jury member, Selim Rehman, professor of economics at the University of Dhaka in Bangladesh, and executive director of SANEM, the South Asian Network of economic modeling. Now, this jury has been looking at the proposals we received, and will be listening to the presentation, and will be scoring and evaluating these proposals against the evaluation criteria you see on the screen. Of course, the innovative potential of the project, clarity of the objectives, the social impact, the potential for scalability or replicability, of course, the feasibility and realism in the project design, and last but not least, the quality of the pitch that we'll be hearing now from the three finalists, which are on the screen now. So we have three organizations. Oddly enough, it's quite unique. We have two organizations from Uganda. It's rare to have two organizations from the same country in the global finals. We received a lot of applications from 24 countries. But congratulations to all three finalists. So we have Assisting, Caring and Empowering African Foundation for Nigeria. We have Women Smiles Uganda, and we Hope Health Action East Africa, also based in Uganda. Before we move to the presentation, I'd like to give the floor to Jean-Louis Arcan, the president of GDN, for some welcome remarks, and following him also to Julie Biao from the World Bank. Jean-Louis, please.
Thanks, Francesco. So let me just also join Francesco in thanking the jury members, in particular, first of all, our board members. They're my bosses. I serve at their pleasure. So thank you very much, Izumi, Marta, and Selim, for taking time from your busy schedules to help with this process, which is this is the culmination of a very long process that João Costa has been piloting for a long time, and very well. Julie, thanks for being here from the bank. And what's sort of unique about today for me is, as GDN's president, I spend my time, or a good deal of my time, trying to raise money for GDN for various types of programs. And this is one of the rare occasions where I get to participate in a communal activity on this jury, namely, which involves giving out money. So it's very nice to be on this side of the equation for once. And I want to thank I want to congratulate the three finalists for being here. As Francesco said, it's interesting that we have two from Uganda and one from Nigeria, and I'm looking forward to the presentations. All of us have already looked at the dossiers very, very carefully, and without further ado, let me just pass the floor over to Julie.
Thank you very much. I'm really honored to represent the World Bank here today. I'm the team leader at the World Bank for the Global Development Awards competition. As we heard, it's been supported since 2001 by a fund that's financed by the government of Japan and administered by the World Bank, the PHRD. And each of the award cycles selects a theme that's very relevant to the development priorities of Japan and of the World Bank. And in this case, the theme of 2023 on the Nexus of Education, Development, and Human Security is particularly close to our hearts. It was really encouraging to read through the proposals and see everything that the partners are doing on the ground, addressing really critical issues, on a daily basis. The recent years of crisis, especially, I mean, we keep seeing that there's no worse setback for development than crisis and conflict. So I really enjoyed going through the proposals, and I very much look forward to today's discussions and to learning more from the presenters about that project. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Jean-Louis. Thank you, Julie. I propose we just start. So let's move now to the presentations of the finalists. This is how we will run the presentations. Each finalist will have 15 minutes to present, and after that we'll have 15 minutes for Q&A. So both the jury who's connected online and anybody who's, I see 38 participants who have connected from across the planet for this public session. Everybody can ask questions to the finalists after presentation. For those who are connected online, apart from the jury, please use the Q&A box that you'll find at the bottom of your Zoom interface on your screen, and we'll solve through the questions, and I'll ask the questions on your behalf to the finalists. And so we'll move from through the three projects in this fashion, 15 minutes plus 15 minutes of Q&A. I'd like to invite Lilian Nakigozi, who from Women's Smiles Uganda, to present a project. The project is called Enhancing Food Security and Livelihoods for Underserved African Communities. So Lilian, congratulations again on making it to the finals. You have 15 minutes to pitch your project.
Thank you so much. Share my screen. Thank you so much, everyone, and great thank you to the jury members for taking part of their precious time to be part of this great presentation. I am Lilian Nakigozi, and currently I'm the founder and executive director of Women's Smiles Uganda. This is a non-profit organization that I formed out of passion and personal experiences. The photo you see is Katang slum, and this is one of the biggest slums in Kampala, that is in Uganda. I should say this is where my story begins. At a young age of 8, when my family, that is my parents, they separated, my mother separated with my father. My mother moved with us all, me and my other 8 siblings, and we settled in this area you see, that's Katang slum. I should say life was so tough on us. My mother, being a woman, she was illiterate. She didn't have any decent job. And she was a woman. We all know how women are taken in many African communities. She didn't have any access to land where she could grow crops to feed us. So she basically struggled day and night to ensure that she put food on table for us all, and to ensure that she actually make sure that we all go to school. So time came when the situation actually worsened. Time came when we survived on just 1 meal a day, and that was corn porridge. And other times we actually slept on empty stomachs without any kind of food. Food scarcity, food insecurity, and extreme poverty in many African communities, especially for families headed by single mothers, is a matter of life or death. This is what I learned when I lost my baby sister due to hunger. Sadly, the issue still exists even today, where in Uganda, 6 out of every 10 people living in these marginalized communities go to bed hungry, and the most affected are women. The situation is particularly severe for women, for teenage mothers, and for children living in these marginalized communities. These are faced with high levels of unemployment, where 80% of these are earning less than $1 a day. These are faced with high levels of domestic violence. These are faced with limited access to land where they can actually grow crops to be able to feed their families. And this is at 96%, which is a very, very higher figure if you compared to whatever is happening around the world. And of course, these don't have capacity to feed themselves and at the same time feed their children, hence lack a health, nutrition, and a balanced diet. Out of my personal experiences, I couldn't just sit back and hold hands. I believed I needed to do something as I grew older so that I could change the experience of women, the experience of children, the experience of teenage mothers, and the experience of young people living in these marginalized communities, especially those living in urban slums who struggle day and night to access land for agriculture, to get food, and of course to look for decent job opportunities. And this is the reason why Women Smiles Uganda was formed. Basically, you may ask yourself, what do we really do? Through Women Smiles Uganda, we are building adaptable, climate resilient vertical farm units using cost-effective and innovative material. This can be placed in any small space that you can ever think of, on verandas, on balcons, on backyards, and gives an opportunity to our women beneficiaries, to the young people, to actually grow a variety of crops so that they are able to feed their families and at the same time sell the surplus of these fresh produce for income generation purposes. A number of crops can actually be grown using these farm units. Think of vegetables, lettuce, cabbages, root crops like potatoes. Then, of course, strawberries can also be grown using these vertical farm units. So what we do, we work with communities and we set up these vertical farm units in the households of our targeted beneficiaries. As part of our intervention, we also conduct community trainings where our beneficiaries are taught how to farm sustainably. They are taught about different entrepreneurship skills through agribusiness. They are also actually taught how to make composite manure through vermicompositing, because we believe in organic farming rather than them using toxic fertilizers, which are actually harmful to the land, harmful to the environment. And then the other training that they are trained on is financial literacy, because we actually take them through how they can do farming as a business beyond them just getting food. We believe we want to increase access to resources, especially the seedlings, to our beneficiaries. And of course, we establish seedling facilities where we grow a number of seeds. And of course, after training, we give out these quality organic seedlings to the beneficiaries of our programs. This helps them to have access to these resources, hence increasing their agricultural productivity. And of course, this eases their journey of farming, their journey of overcoming poverty and hunger. Our nutrition education program is another unique aspect of our interventions. This is because we want to see that children thrive. We want to see that children have access to a balanced diet. And basically what we do, we work with women, we work with teenage mothers. We're also working with food nutritionists who during these trainings come and train these mothers. They train these teenage mothers on the right foods they are supposed to actually feed their children. They teach them the right foods they are supposed to eat during pregnancy. And basically all this is done so that they are able to access healthy nutrition through the crops they grow using our sustainable farming solutions. We believe in community development, and as part of our programs, our initiatives, we hold community workshops, because we want to fully engage our communities, the communities we work with during implementations, during monitoring and evaluation. And of course, during this workshop, during this outreach is when we actually inform them about the available resources they can actually take advantage of through our organization. Then during these programs, we engage with them, get to learn more about their pains, their problems, and what we need to do so that we can improve their lives. We've been in place since officially we started as a project in 2018, and officially we launched in 2021. And of course, for the past years, I am happy to say that we have managed to reach 15,000 people. All these have been trained on sustainable farming practices. They have access to resources, and they're now growing a variety of crops to increase their food security and at the same time livelihoods. Over 8,000 children have been fed on a balanced diet. And of course, we've also gone ahead to set up 3 community demonstration farms. These are currently acting as education centers for community members to come and learn about sustainable farming practices. These are actually also acting as our training grounds where we are training our women beneficiaries. And then I'm also happy to report that there was a time when the beneficiaries didn't have any sustainable sources of income. There was a time they were actually earning less than $1 a day. And through our programs, through our initiatives, through them engaging in urban farming, they are now earning $300 US monthly, and most of them actually earn more than that, depending on the space, depending on the type of crops they are actually growing. This is really a very huge progress for us, and whenever we see this, we are happy that our initiatives are making a difference in so many people's lives. Yes, we are addressing food security, we are addressing poverty, we are ensuring that our beneficiaries have access to resources. In addition to that, we ensure that we link them to markets where they are able to sell these surplus produce. And this is, we are into partnership with restaurants, with schools, with hospitals, and with hotels where they are able to sell these agricultural fresh produce. Then in the past year, we have managed to create 600 full-time jobs through our entrepreneurship programs for the youth doing agribusinesses. That is leveraging on vertical farming and urban farming as their source of employment opportunity. Our underlying magic lies in the fact that we embrace bottom-up partnership approaches. We work with a number of people from local councils, from grassroots NGOs, where we also train the beneficiaries of their programs to, to be able to empower themselves. Then we also engage in advocacy efforts. Currently, we are into partnership with Backbone Center for Global Citizens, where I sit on a council, and currently we are elevating for the voices of young female women farmers in Africa, their voices to be heard, how best they can be helped to access resources. Then our solution addresses multiple dimensions of food security and livelihoods, and this is basically through our sustainable trainings in vertical farming. This is through providing these resources and inputs available to our targeted beneficiaries. And of course, we also embrace economic empowerment, whereby we always look at how best our beneficiaries can help each other to overcome situations of poverty, to overcome situations of hunger, basically to work together where they are sharing skills so that they are able to develop self-sustaining food systems for themselves. Then the other unique aspect is the technological integration into our solution. Vertical farming alone is a new technology to the targeted beneficiaries in Uganda. And of course, we also implement data-driven approaches, especially during monitoring and evaluation. With your support and of course with the GDN award, we hope to impact 5,000 of our targeted beneficiaries, and these will have access to training in sustainable vertical farming. They'll have access to agricultural inputs and resources. And we also hope to reach 2,500 households with our solution and with our initiatives, given your support. In terms of job creation, through our entrepreneurship training program in agribusiness, we hope to reach 350 of the beneficiaries through this program. Then, of course, with your support, we believe we can increase our beneficiaries' incomes through increasing their access to ready markets where they are able to sell the surplus of agricultural produce. Then we also need to establish more community demo farms so that we increase the agricultural training, so that these continue to act as education centers in different communities, so that people can learn more about different sustainable, climate resilient farming practices. Enhancing knowledge or building capacity of our beneficiaries, another aspect that we hope will actually achieve with your support. And this will be through our community workshops where they are trained about nutrition, food security, climate resilient practices, and of course, basic financial literacy. To do this work, I don't really work alone. We are a team of 15 full-time people, and this is part of the management team. They're all young people below 35, experienced in different fields of agriculture, finance, leadership, market research, name it. There are so many still pressing issues of food scarcity and poverty, and I believe with our solution, we can create safe, resilient, and sustainable communities where everyone has access to food, everyone has access to decent jobs through agripreneurship, and everyone doesn't have to go to bed hungry. Let's ensure a world free from hunger and free from poverty. Thank you so much for taking part of your precious time to listen and to learn about our work. Thank you so much.
Thank you to you, Lillian. I'd like to invite the jury members to switch on the camera. And again, I wrote in the chat, but the Q&A is open, so please, for everyone who's connected, ask your question through the Q&A. Now, looking at our jury, we have 15 minutes. Marta, raise your hands, please. Floor is yours. And so Marta first, and then Ono-san.
Okay, so thanks very much for this presentation, and I think congratulations, because I didn't know about these foundations and what you are implementing. So I find it fascinating. But let me ask more. I mean, some questions that just to clarify. No, so I have some questions, but let me just summarize into two, and then if there is more time, I can I will have more. No, so the first one is that I'm wondering, but maybe you explain it, but I didn't get it. But about the long run, so after intervention, so you started so long time ago. So if you follow the people that you have received the worst beneficiaries, how you ensure that after you have this intervention to this particular people, they follow, though in 5-10 years they will continue, or with they behave as you expected. I mean, how you ensure that that this is only lasts when you when you intervene. So this is what the first thing that I'm worried about, and I'm sure you have an answer for that. And the second thing is, so for someone like me that I don't know a lot about all these programs that exist, how different is your program from others that are done from other institutions or foundations? So this is something that I don't know, and it's hard for me to check. And I would like you that if you can explain me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Marta, for the questions. To answer the first question, what we do actually, we have a monitoring and evaluation in place to keep track of all our beneficiaries and how we ensure continuity of their program, let's say, after so many years, because we still have beneficiaries we started with when we were just starting as a project. That was in 2018, and they are still carrying on with the practices. One reason being, we don't just provide our trainings and leave it at that. We have these extra services that we are providing to our beneficiaries, that is the market leakages, then the continuous support, the financial literacy. So with all that, it actually enables them like to continuously be engaging, and actually some of them, they are also empowering other people. They are bringing on board other people. They are recommending other people through referrals to actually join the program. So that's how we've managed to maintain the continuity of our beneficiaries. And then how we are unique, I should say, first of all, we are targeting the most vulnerable people. We all know women are the most vulnerable people. And once we engage them, we empower them to actually become leaders of change in their communities. That alone is a unique aspect for Women Smiles Uganda. And then the other unique aspect is the version of our vertical farms is unique in its own aspect because it can be placed, even if you don't have land, you can just get it, place it on your balcony, place it on your veranda, and it can work compared to other urban farming solutions that are in place. So that alone is unique. Then the other unique aspect about us, I should say, is our team. We have a dedicated team. These are all young people. Whenever I get an opportunity to speak to individuals, great individuals like yourselves, I really have to tell them about my team, how young we are, but we are really doing great work down the road. If you visit Uganda, trust me, you will see the amazing work we've done down there. So basically, those are the unique aspects. And the fact that we provide these extra services, the market leakages, the resources, the agricultural inputs, that alone is unique because most people just stop at the community trainings. But for us, we actually take that extra effort to ensure that we do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lillian. I think Ono-san, raise your hand, please.
Thank you, Lillian. Thank you very much for your effort. And I really understand that this is really based on your real experiences. And I appreciate your initiative very much. Maybe my understanding may not be sufficient by reading your proposal, but let me clarify that how do you prioritize a target, the beneficiaries? Because you don't talk about the geographical location at all in your proposal. Are you generally, how are you going to approach, identify those beneficiaries? Are you going to work on Kampala as you initially presented, or you may be working for other places? Because I didn't get a sense how to prioritize that identify your beneficiary. This is my first question. And then second question is, are you going to work with individuals or groups? Because the vertical farming, I'm not so familiar with, but I think, I guess it's a very simple way of doing planting those things. But, still it requires a lot of knowledge of the kind of how to plant and how to provide those watering, and also how to, maybe if you will try to do it in a much larger scale, it requires electricity, water systematically. So how to what extent that this vertical farming can be easily or practiced, I don't know if it's an individual or a group or communities. Could you give me a more sense about it? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for your questions. To answer the first question, when we were starting, we started basically in Kampala. And over the past years, we've scaled to other marginalized communities, which are outside of Kampala. So basically, we work within Kampala and beyond Kampala. And then the second question, what I didn't mention during the presentation is we bring together women in groups of 50, groups of 100, up to groups of 200, and they are trained. So basically we work with groups, and we also work with individuals. But most of the people we work with are the women. They are organized in different women empowerment groups of 50, of 100, up to 200. So that's how we are actually able to reach these many numbers, because they work. And of course, we believe by them working together in groups, they are able to share skills, share the knowledge, so that they can develop self-sustaining food systems for their families through urban agriculture. So that's how we actually implement that. Thank you so much.
Selim? Oh, sorry, Onosan, we cannot hear you.
Oh, can you hear me?
I think there was another question by Onosan in terms of how do you identify.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I had missed that. So basically how we identify the communities is we work with local leaders. We call them their chairpersons, their councillors. So they are able to actually help us reach to those very vulnerable people. Then we also work with women empowerment groups, the circles. So that's how we are able to identify these communities. Basically, it's not just our organization. So we actually engage other people to help us reach the most vulnerable people.
I see. And then you talked about that you'll be working with a group of that women. Yeah. Does the vertical farming does not require lots of energy or electricity or water systematically? Or
no, our version doesn't use electricity because we work with marginalized communities, so people wouldn't really afford to pay for electricity. It would be very expensive. So how we designed it that it cannot, it uses less space and less water. But it doesn't use electricity. So it's not the other advanced in the ones they use in Europe, in the US, in Asia.
Yeah.
So this one is a different version because we sat and we needed to come up with a version that could actually benefit the most vulnerable, the most marginalized communities. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you,
So it's
Lillian.
different from the Japanese way. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Selim.
Lillian, many congratulations. I hope you can hear me, Francisco.
Yeah.
Okay. So while reading your proposal, I found that you propose kind of broadly 5 activities: training, capacity building, agricultural support, infrastructure development, income generating activities, monetary regulation. Actually, the scope seems to be kind of broad. So how do you really bring the kind of synergies and, you make sure that these activities in the proposal, on the objectives will be met, and there's some kind of measurable indicators, or you'll be proposing, you'll be able to achieve them. So just want to hear a little bit elaboration from your side.
For all the activities, because our solution is there are multiple solutions in one, I should say. First, the capacity building is the training, the knowledge and skills that we pass on during the community workshops. Then the infrastructure development is after the training is when we go ahead and set up the vertical farm units. That's after they have been, first they are recruited onto our training program, because it's a series of trainings that they go through. It's not just one training. So one, they are trained on how they can utilize the small spaces. Then we go ahead and set up the vertical farm units. And of course, yes, we are a small team of 15 people, and it's not that we can do all that work. Of course, we engage other partners. We have other people we are working with. We have consultants, we have suppliers. So it's not just a one man's work. So through that, we are able to actually to integrate all those activities within our program. So that's how we manage to do that. Thank you, Selim.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that presentation. So I have a question. So one of the nice things about your project is that it's market based, and as a development economist, this is the sort of stuff that we like when things are market based. the danger I see, I wonder if you could comment on the danger in terms of the, this is not necessarily Pareto improving, sorry to use economic terminology. This threatens presumably entrenched interests also, right? Other people who are operating in these markets. How do you, first of all, do you face this kind of threat? There must be reactions from entrenched interests. It's sort of like, when people go in, I don't know, they do microfinance. Well, they're money lenders, right? And it drives them out of business, or it can threaten their business. So how do you deal with that? And has this been a threat? If not, then explain why. Thanks.
Yeah, of course, that threat has been there. I shouldn't say it hasn't. No, I would be lying. But how we've actually managed to do that is we work directly with our individuals. We engage directly with these community members. So there is that strong attachment, because once you sit with an individual, you speak to that individual, like you understand their pain, because personally I went through the same pain. And most people on my team, they all have most of them have the same background. So they really understand what all these people are experiencing. So when we talk with such people, you share, you feel you share the pain with them. So there is a way, of course, there are other interventions that have come in place, but what we put first is that, our people come first. And secondly, we ensure that we provide the quality. We ensure that we provide the most needed service for these communities. Of course, most of our people in this industry, they are more money-minded, I should say. They are more after making huge profits, which is not the case, with Women's Smiles. We're actually more at how best our people can improve their livelihoods, how best can they, help each other, share skills, develop those systems within themselves. So I don't know if that has answered your question.
I think we're out of time anyway, right? So
yeah, basically out of time. Just very quickly, there's a question from the audience about two things. One, who buys the produce, right? So who pays for agricultural produce that is produced? The second question is whether you actually in terms of vulnerability, whether you just stop at women as a general category, or whether you also look at groups of women who are actually more vulnerable than others, single mothers, et cetera, et cetera. So if you can reply to those questions in 1 minute, I think we'll have to wrap up.
Yeah, sure. The first question, we are into partnership with restaurants, with hotels, with schools. So basically, these are the buyers of the fresh agricultural produce. Then we also currently are bringing on board different market vendors from different food markets in Uganda. Then the other question is we actually engage all kinds of women, groups of women. We engage teenage mothers, because Uganda has so many teenage mothers, and during COVID, we experienced Uganda actually it's the country which closed schools the longest period of time, and we experienced huge numbers of teenage mothers. So we also are targeting those people. We also reach out to those people, and of course, even the young people, the youth, who are not basically women or who are not girls, but they are actually are facing high levels of unemployment, which is also a very big issue back in Uganda. People have studied, but they don't have jobs. There are no jobs available. So we also engage those groups of people.
Thank you very much, Lillian. I'm afraid we'll have to close the Q&A session and move on to the next project. So thanks again. So let's actually move to the next project, which is led by the organization called Assisting, Caring, and Empowering Africa Foundation, ACE charity. The presenter for the person representing the organization is Asana Shuaibu, and the project is called ACE Radio School. The floor is yours. You have 15 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'll just share. Okay, thank you. What if you never went to school? You're an out-of-school child who has to work to contribute to your family's expenses. Your parents cannot afford school, so you never even bother to ask. This is Abdul Ghaffar, a young boy who cannot afford to go to school and has to fend for himself by repairing tricycles. For Abdul Ghaffar, this is his reality. It is no what if. But now, for 1 hour a day, he can actually take a break from work and receive free education from Ace Radio School. Right now, Ace Radio School is the only form of learning he receives. Ace Radio School is an initiative of Ace Charity, which is an NGO that was established in 2010. It envisions a world where all Africans are educated beyond basic level and enjoy economic inclusion. It focuses on economically empowering women and young people from disadvantaged communities and advocates for girls' rights to education. It also focuses on providing free, quality education to public school children and out-of-school children. Nigeria has about 20 million out-of-school children, which is the highest in the world. And majority of these out-of-school children are living in the northern part of the country. This is due to an interplay of several factors. First, we have the high level of poverty in several disadvantaged communities, where children have to financially contribute to their families by going to the streets to hawk, by going with their parents to the farms. Some help in their parents' shops, and some even go to the streets to beg. And these are done during school hours, and as a result, it impacts their schooling. Even in cases where schools are free, parents are still required to pay what we call hidden fees. And these fees could be fees to buy uniform, fees for furniture, fees for exams. Children who can't afford these fees are sent back home, interrupting their schooling. We also have sociocultural beliefs in certain communities where girl child is expected to marry early, and this prevents or stops their schooling. Some parents also fear that because Western education stems from Christian missionary schools, so now they fear that their children will be indoctrinated into Christianity, and this has stopped them from sending their children to school. They also have the insecurity, which is a major contributing factor. We all heard about the Chibok girls about 10 years ago, they were kidnapped. Unfortunately, this is not a single occurrence because just last month, over 280 primary school children were kidnapped from a school in northern Nigeria. So we have parents who are scared to send their children to school, and who can blame them? Even in regions that have been affected by Boko Haram crisis, schools were bombed and destroyed. And although these states are still trying to rebuild, but while they are rebuilding, many children are left behind with nowhere to learn. We also have the poor quality of education in government schools. We spoke to one of our beneficiaries, Mukhtar, when we spoke to his dad about why he wasn't going to school. He said private schools are too expensive and that there is no learning going on in public schools. So with his mega earnings and small income, education is not a worthy financial investment for him. He would rather Mukhtar does something that he deems that is more productive. And when COVID-19 struck, the number of out-of-school children escalated. Schools were closed and children were forced to stay at home. The children in expensive private schools could continue learning because they had internet, they had computers they could use to access or to allow for remote learning. But what about the other children? They didn't have this luxury. And that was why Ace Charity initiated the Ace Radio School to provide children with quality learning through radio. During this period while we were airing, we received so many calls from parents, from out-of-school children who told us how Ace Radio School was beneficial to them and how they were learning. And so once school resumed, we refocused on providing learning to out-of-school children and aired during school hours. We broadcasted to about 3 radio stations, which have a combined listenership of about 20 million across 14 states in the region. But we also did one more thing. We established what we call listening centers or listening groups. And here we gather children who do not have access to the radio. We got them a facilitator from the community. We provided writing materials, a speaker, and played the episode so that they could listen and learn. And these listening centers have reached over 1,000 children. To develop our Ace Radio School episodes, we actually hired private school teachers who were professionally trained with high qualifications. And then we now select topics, basic and core topics from the national curriculum, assign them to these teachers who have expertise in them, and they develop scripts for recording. We have a team who reviews these scripts to make sure to check for content, language, tone, and engagement. And once these scripts are approved, the teachers then record the scripts and we send the recordings for post-production. These produced episodes are then sent to the radio to broadcast to the general public and the listening group facilitators to play in the listening centers. Through our listening groups, we could also measure success and learning outcomes. And so we conduct monthly assessments and surveys. And our assessment has showed that from baseline to endline, the mean knowledge of the children actually doubles. And from our survey, we found that 55% of our past beneficiaries are currently enrolled into school. And this is huge for us. So why are we here? We're here because we want to quadruple our impact. We have reached over 8,000 children and want to reach 4,800 additional out-of-school children and provide them with free, safe, accelerated, quality, and multilingual learning. We are targeting children who have either never been in school or who dropped out of school and are living in marginalized, rural, or conflict-affected communities in northern Nigeria. Based on previous M&E data, we've always been able to reach more females. So at least 55% of our beneficiaries in each community will be females. Our first objective is to run these listening spaces in 12 communities. And these spaces are actually donated by the community and so that the children can learn. The learning centers will cater to two groups. We have one group which will receive basic education and one group will receive secondary education. And in several of these communities, the children will be gender segregated. That is, if this community's gender segregation is the norm, we'll just adopt this norm and provide learning. We'll provide each center with speakers, learning materials, and one male and female community member who will be listening center facilitators. We're going to, these facilitators are actually nominated by the community and they're usually graduates. We interview them to see how suitable they are for the role, and we train them to facilitate the sessions and to assess the children. We also provide them with safeguarding training as well. Next, we're going to enroll these children into these listening spaces, and learning will take place 4 times a week. We'll send the episodes to the children, to the facilitators weekly, and each center will cater to 200 children, and they will learn in groups of 40. So for 6 months, 2,400 children will receive the foundational learning, after which we'll enroll the next set of 2,400 children. So what makes us unique? Okay, sorry. So we're also going to be providing this peace education to the children as well. And this is one of the things that make us unique, because we're not just providing education, but we're providing important life skills. Through songs, through stories, we are teaching cultural, religious tolerance, we are teaching conflict resolution, as well as social skills. Our Ace Radio School Listening Group is unique in other ways, several other ways. One, we are teaching in local language, because children who are not in school will not be able to grasp it otherwise. So we want them to be able to grasp and understand this concept. We are also teaching in the localized style of learning. In northern Nigeria, the children are used to the Islamia style where they sit on mats to learn Quran education. So we'll adopt the same approach so it doesn't look like something foreign. The learning sessions are also short, lasting a maximum of 1 hour. This is because the unfortunate reality is that some of these children have to go and work or go to the farm. So in this way, they are able to take time out of those activities to come and learn. Married girls can also do the same. Our lessons also align with the national curriculum. And this is important because it helps to ease children who want to go back to school, back into school, because we are teaching what is being taught in schools. The learning times are also flexible. So we can teach in the afternoons if it's a farming community where children have to go to the farms in the morning. And so we want to teach when it's convenient for the children. We also make sure that our learning is engaging. So our episodes can ask children to go and get stones so that they can learn to count. We can tell them to clap or jump so they know that jumping or clapping is a doing word. So even if it is through audio, we are trying to be as engaging as possible. Our project is also sustainable because it involves the communities. The community donates the learning spaces, nominates the facilitators, and the setup is also not expensive. It requires space, mats, the speakers, and the educational content. And all these are donated to the community. So at the end of the project, the community has all it takes. They have the space, the mats, the speakers, and the content to continue the project after we leave. This also makes it highly scalable and replicable. In the future, we have dreams. We want to translate our episodes into major languages. We want to have prep episodes that will prepare out-of-school children to transition to, next level. And we are also working on developing our own educational radio station that will provide free education. We measure success through several indicators. We conduct monthly knowledge assessments to measure the children's knowledge and see how it has increased over time. We want to see how it has increased from the beginning of the project till the end. We interview children, parents, and community members to see how their interest in formal education has changed. We also measure their changes in attitude to peace and tolerance. We also measure how else East Radio School has benefited the community and what other intended and unintended impacts have been arise. What other impacts arise? So East Radio School has several impacts. The first is that the project is fulfilling a child's right to education, because for a large number of our children, this is the only form of learning that they are going to receive. It has also increased their interest in formal education. So when we speak to many of our beneficiaries, before they didn't have any interest in formal education, they didn't care. But now when we speak to them, to talk about how they want to go back to school. And you can see from the previous data I mentioned that 55% of our beneficiaries have actually gone back. It also helps to improve gender parity. We're able to reach married adolescent girls. And for us, this is huge, because when we started, we actually wondered how we could reach married girls without, causing any controversy or causing any conflict. But we didn't even have to, because the married girls came to us. They came to our facilitators stating that they wanted to learn. They actually did this because the centers are close to them, because the learning sessions are short. So it was very convenient for them to leave their homes to learn. And the fact that when it comes to married girls, they're actually a hidden and forgotten population, especially with regards to education, was something, this particular win is something that is very big for us and meaningful. Also, by educating out-of-school children, we are reducing their vulnerability to be recruited as bandits and terrorists, because we know that a huge number of the recruits did not go to school. We are also reducing their vulnerability to crime through our peace education curriculum. We are building cultural and religious tolerance. For children who are scared to go to school, they can learn in their neighborhood spaces. We'll do a community assessment, a safe space in the community. It could be the chief's palace, and they just quickly learn for a short time. In 1 hour, they're back home. And we're also contributing to community development, because in some of these communities, this is the only form of school that they have. So without East Radio School, some of these communities actually have no other way for their children to learn. Either the schools are too far, and so they say their children to stay home, or their children have to cross dangerous roads to go to school. And so they'd rather not take that risk. We are also subverting sociocultural norms, because uneducated parents are able to listen to the episodes and understand that there is no Western propaganda or religious indoctrination. This is because the episodes are in the local language. So once they listen to these episodes, they listen to what is being taught. It increases their interest and trust in formal education. And so this is also something that is big for us, because we are raising the awareness of the importance of education. I want to say that the issue of education is deep-rooted. We cannot wait 10, 15 years for the government to finish building schools and train teachers before children can start learning. We need a solution now. Otherwise, children will be left behind. And that's what we are doing. We are providing an educational solution for out-of-school children that have been forced out of school because of their current reality. For children like Abdul Ghaffar, who has to repair tricycles even though he wants to learn, and now he can. I will end with a quote from Mariam, one of our beneficiaries, who said, and I quote, "After Ace Radio School, I went back to school, and I asked, what is a noun? And I got up and said, a noun is the name of a person, animal, place, or thing. It is Ace Radio School that taught me that." Thank you very much to everyone for listening.
Thank you very much, Asana. I'd like you to invite the jury to switch on their cameras. And yes, the floor is open. Marta, and then Julie.
Okay, so
Francisco, kindly allow me to open the video.
please go ahead, Marta. We'll figure
Okay.
out the.
So thanks very much for the presentation, and I also think it's a very interesting and fascinating project. But I have different questions, but let me just start with one and that allow other people. This requires a lot of effort from the child point of view, no? I mean, I can imagine childs that maybe are not motivated, and how you ensure that the child, after they working, will take this radio broadcast and start learning, no? They probably go and play soccer with the friends. So this is something that it's very hard for me to imagine, because requires really a huge motivation from the kids. And it's quite hard, no? So how, from your experience, how you solve that?
Maybe let's take a couple of questions. So Julie, why don't you
Okay.
ask your question?
Actually, I had a similar question on how you encourage attendance and progression throughout the curriculum. My other question was to do with the realism of using based on your current projects, whether using the public space without having to rent, or to what extent that's easy to do, to get the community, the square or public square, or whether that's something that's easy to do, or is that like something that requires a lot of work and negotiation? Do you ever have to, purchase any land or rent, and how you handle that aspect? Thank you.
So why don't you start
Okay.
answering those two questions, the three questions?
Okay, so for the first question, thank you for asking that. So it's actually not that hard for us to get the children motivated. I think one thing we need to understand is these children, many of them have not been to school, but they know there's a school. And children are curious individuals. They actually want to learn. If you make it fun, if you make it interesting, if you incorporate songs, they want to learn. Actually, in the communities that we work with, we actually have more children that we plan for who want to come. Like a child might be passing by and seeing children sitting down, learning, listening, responding to what's going on, and they'll actually want to join. So even though we budget for 50, we can have like 70 people are actually coming and they want to join the learning. So one thing we've learned is that children want to learn and parents want their children to learn, but there've just been so many obstacles that have prevented them. And you give them a free book, they don't have to purchase anything. We're giving them books, we're giving them pencils, pens. They want to come and sit down and do what their other peers are doing. So we've not actually really had a problem with motivating the children to learn, because episodes are even interesting. We have situations where the children will say, okay, they heard their friend was part of the listening group, and so they wanted to go and join their friends to listen. And we ask, why did you stay? Because it was engaging, because the teacher doesn't flog us, because we are learning, because I want to gain knowledge. So that hasn't been a major challenge for us. Then for the second question, we've not actually had to pay for rent or purchase any land or space. Because when we come into a community, we speak to the community leaders, we speak to the women leaders, we speak to the youth leaders, and we ask for a space. It doesn't have to be a perfect, space. Like say we bring a mat and then they sit down and then they learn. Someone can donate his compound. Like we just have a community member saying, you know what, I have a big compound. I can donate my compound. Let them come and learn. So we've not had any issue or challenge with, because we're not building anything. We're just setting up. We just have a mat, we just have a speaker, we just have someone there sitting down, and then they are able to listen and learn. Some the community member can say, okay, we have, there's one building somewhere, let's use that building. So yeah, so that's our experience so far.
Everybody happy with the answers? Yeah. So it was Onosan and then Selim, please.
Selim first, yeah.
Selim first, and then Onosan, and we'll just club the questions together again. And we have some questions from the audience too.
Many congratulations.
Thank you.
So my question to you is about, did you think about the kind of risk factors? Even if I agree with your argument that the students are enthusiastic and they will take part, but in order to complete this whole listening, do you also fear that there might be dropout of those children, and not continuing it for various other factors, and there could be some other risk factors to which may affect your project activities? So if I ask you to, if you can say us about 2 or 3 risk factors, how do you really tackle them? Thank you.
Yeah, my question is also similar to the Selim's one. It looks like that you have made a very important effort, and also I was impressed that you started with the COVID, and then you experimented this in radio, no, that the training learning center, and then you modified this to fit the context of the current situation. So I was very much impressed by the way how this initiative came about. And also it is very good that you engage at the local communities. Do you have any difficulties you have faced so far? Because everything looks kind of big. I mean, kids are motivated, local community very much collaborative. But is there any challenges you have faced? If you can share with us, that would be appreciated. And also another question is that radio is most frequently used, the method for communicating among the people in that region. May I understand like this? Maybe.
Asana, are you still, can you hear us?
Yeah, definitely.
I think we have some problem with the connection.
Yeah, the
that we
screen is a
have
bit
come to face.
frozen.
Definitely, there are times where they have to go and do something, or something, one activity has come up or something like that. And one of the reasons why, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, okay. Sorry. So we've had risk. You mentioned dropouts. We've had situations where children have actually, they have something else that they.
Asana, I think we're having trouble. Your screen froze, and we were having trouble hearing you. Are you there?
May I suggest that she's coming back.
Yeah, let's just wait. Give her a minute. Yeah, you're back.
Sorry.
So please go ahead.
Okay, so I was saying that we've had issues where children have said we don't have optimal attendance. That's not possible. So there are situations where a child will have to go and do something, or a child will have to drop out for one reason or the other. But one of the reasons that we work with, like, our facilitator is a community member, a trusted community member that's been nominated from the community, is because we're able to find out what the issue is. We're able to go to the parents through our facilitators. They have access to the parents. They have access to speaking to the parents. They are trusted members of the community, and they're able to find out what the issue is. And one of the things that we try to do to reduce this risk is we want to understand how the community is. Are there particular farming days, for example? Is there a time that is more convenient to the children to minimize the risk of dropouts? This is one of the things that we always try to do before we actually start the program, so that we are choosing a time that is more accommodating for people. We also have repeat sessions. So, for example, if because the episodes are short, like I said, the episodes last for 30 minutes. And so if children have missed something, if they come, we repeat. We always ensure that the listening group facilitators actually repeat episodes, so that children who have missed can actually learn what has been missed. That's one of the ways that we try and minimize risk. We just try and assess the community and try and adapt to that community. One of the things I mentioned was gender segregation. In some communities, girls and boys should not be together, mixed up and learning. So because we want the community to accept us, we are not going to come and say, oh no, we must mix them. No, we'll just adopt the style. If girls and boys should not be mixed up together, then girls should learn separately from boys. And that way it doesn't seem like we're coming with something that is foreign or something that is new. And one of the difficulties that we've actually faced because we actually learn outside climate, so there was a particular time where because of flooding, we were not able to, have like an outdoor space, and children had to be moved, and that flooding actually, like, that's a challenge that came up and affected our programs. And so we had to pause and hold on, and we had to continue when children came back to the communities, and then we continued learning. We actually had to do learning recovery so that they can understand the knowledge, gain back the knowledge that has been lost. So that was one of the environmental risks that we actually envisaged. And you mentioned, so that's one of the major difficulties. The thing is, when we go to the community, we usually play the episodes for the chief. We play the episodes for them. So they are hearing it, they are hearing ABC, they are hearing 1, 2, 3, and so they understand that there is no agenda. So we usually don't get that pushback from the community. And when it comes to radio is actually the most used form of media in northern Nigeria. About 89% of the population in northern Nigeria use radio. The cattleman, someone who rears cattle, uses the radio. In the farm, the farmer has a radio with him that he's using to listen to news and catch up. So that was why we needed to use the radio and not anything that has to do with the internet. So I don't know if, yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Let me just ask the question, which are bring up the question which are in the Q&A box. Well, there's one question about what the business model basically is. So how do you fund this now? Of course, you're applying for funding, so it's clear that you also fund this for grants. But how do you have you been funding this till now? The other question is about it was a number of questions which I would summarize in terms of how formal is what you do. So how easy it is for institutions that provide the school system, national school system, to recognize this as an alternative or a complement to the formal schooling. Right. So are your the people who produce the programs trained? Will kids get can say and can use their attendance to the groups to say they have a minimum level of education, etc. So how do you interface with the formal education system?
Okay, so all our episodes, all our topics are actually gotten from the Nigerian National Curriculum, because we want to teach what is being taught in schools. So what we do is we go to the National Curriculum. We selected topics that are the basic and core topics of education, because by the end of our project, our children should have been able to identify the letters, the numbers, they know fractions, they know shapes, they know basic arithmetical operations, and science and literacy, and they're able to know nouns, pronouns. So we are ensuring that we are carrying the core topics from the Nigerian National Curriculum, and that's what we're doing. And we're a foundational and transitional program. So what we're doing is we want to provide foundational learning for these children. So even if they don't end up going back to school because something happens, at least they have that foundational learning. At least they have improved numeracy and literacy skills. And if they're able to go back to school, like for us, those who have been able to.
I think Asana hasn't been lucky as far as the connection goes. We lost her. I think nobody can hear her, right? No, okay, it's not just me. Let's give her a second to see if she reconnects. Otherwise, time is almost up. Well, I might suggest as well, if anybody else in the jury has questions or in the audience, just use the Q&A box and we'll try to get her to answer in the Q&A box.
Francisco, I had a question, but which corresponds to stuff which is in the Q&A box, which has to do with the security situation.
Yeah.
It might be, but she can answer in the Q&A box, I think.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
So we are providing foundational and transitional learning, but we are also advocating and we're also trying to work with the government so that we're able to get them ready, as in we're able to, it's going to be recognized as a form of formal accelerated education. But what we're doing is foundational and transitional learning. And we are also working on providing episodes that prepare children who want to write WAEC or NECO. So when I say WAEC or NECO, these are examinations that make them go to university. So we are actually working on providing these episodes so that when they listen, they're able to write these exams and pass. I think those were the questions.
Thanks, Asana. There's two questions which are actually very closely related about how do you handle the security situation. But since time is up, Joao is going to allow you to answer those in the Q&A box, right? So we'll get to that unless you want to answer like
and my
in 30
apologies
seconds.
for the network issue.
No, unless you want to, you can answer in 30 seconds. Then please do.
Okay. So we actually do a security assessment before we go to every community, and we are choosing communities that have been conflict affected. That means they've been affected by conflict in the past, and because of that conflict, it has affected them. That's affected their schools, or there's no school because of the conflict. So we're providing that education for them. I also mentioned talking to the chief, looking for a place, just having a short learning period. Language is also important. We are not going to call it a school. We are calling it a listening center, so that it doesn't spark any issues of fear. Speaking to the chief, we're able to find, even if it is his palace, some of these chiefs are saying, fine, you can do it in my palace, and then the children can learn, because that's a more safer environment. And because it's so short, they can learn and go back home. So that's what we actually try to do to,
Thank you very much, Asana. I'm afraid we need to move to the third presentation, but thanks once more.
Thank you so much, and my sincere apologies for the
That's fine.
issues. Thank you all for
completely used to internet not being as reliable as we would like it to be. Let me just move to the third finalist, and so we're talking about Hope Health Action East Africa, represented today by Robert Rapsi Ogwang. Apologies for mispronouncing your name. The project is titled Cultivate, Educate, Empower Agriculture and Livelihoods for Vulnerable Households in Mijale, Uganda. Robert, if you can switch on your camera and open your mic, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you, Francisco. My video is currently muted by the host. I believe maybe it can be opened.
Yes, we'll solve that. We'll solve it out with Jean's help. Here you go. If you can show your screen and start.
Oh, yeah.
15 minutes.
So, thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Is everyone seeing?
Yes,
Hello.
we can see the presentation.
Hi,
Please
Francisco.
go ahead. Please go ahead. Robert, we can see your presentation.
Am I loud and clear?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I am Robert Ogwang Rapsi, the project manager for Nutrition and Agriculture Project here at Hope Health Action East Africa. We are so incredibly grateful for the opportunity through the Global Development Network from the government and the people of Japan. Yes, this is an important avenue as it helps us to build our long-lasting partnership services that we provide to the people in the global south who are living in marginalization. Today, I will be sharing with you about our project, Educate, Cultivate, and Empower project. This is an ongoing project, provide support for the most vulnerable households here in Uganda. Yes, I would like to start by telling you a story about Loku. Loku is a South Sudanese refugee. He came to Uganda in the year 2014 after the devastating civil war in South Sudan left him homeless. He is a father of 4 children with a family size of 6. He has lived in Mijale, an official refugee settlement in northern Uganda, for more than 9 years, struggling with disability, polio, that left him crippled. He had no wheelchair, so he had to crawl on ground to get around. And as a result, he faced extreme stigma and discrimination from the community because of his disability. He told us that people took him like an animal and not as human. Yes, just like any other refugee, he was struggling with he had no income generating activity, meaning that he lived below $1. That means that he could not be able to provide for his family. He was also struggling with extreme hunger and food insecurity, which meant that his family barely had more than 1 meal a day. And as a result, he narrates that his children fell sick much often and they looked much thinner. So when we met Loco in 2022, none of his children was attending to primary education because he couldn't afford to pay the $3 per child in the local community school. Yes, in 2022, with the support of our community rehabilitation worker, we assessed Loku, and with the assessment, we provided him the tricycle, which enabled him to move with dignity, covering much longer distance that he couldn't before. We also enrolled him as part of our agriculture and livelihood support that we ran in Mijale, his community. We provided him with the variety of seeds, the land, agricultural tools, and then the training, sustainable farming training, so that he can be able to produce food for his family. In the beginning, when Loku started, his neighbors laughed and mocked at him, saying, "How can a cripple cultivate?" Yes, but when time came for the harvest, Loku registered a huge success that he was able to harvest so many crops. He sold some of these crops and used the money to buy the goats and the sheep. That formed another sustainable income and food for his family. Yes, he was also able to get more food that enabled him to feed his family on more than 3 meals a day, something he imagined that he couldn't afford. He also was able to enroll his children in a local community primary school to pursue primary education. He has already enrolled 2 of his children, and they're pursuing primary education, something that even he himself, he imagined he couldn't afford. In the training, we provided him the training to be able to save the seeds for planting in the coming season. And this made sure that Loku was self-sufficient and able to produce his food year in and year out. With the support, we also linked him to agro inputs or agro buyers that enabled him to sell his commodity at a much expensive or a much competitive price quote, making him to get more income from his farming. I wanted to start by telling you this story because it really illustrates how very important this project to the people living with disability. Hope Health Action East Africa did not only supported Loco holistically by reducing sustainably its food security, but also provided him with the dignity and empowerment that came with the change wider community attitude about the capability of people living with disability. Who we are Hope Health Action East Africa with a profound mission to provide life-saving health and disability care for the most vulnerable communities in the global south, targeting South Sudan and Uganda. We started our cooperation in 2017, where we handled so many community projects as an outreach project. And in 2021, we established our presence through New Hope BDBD Rehabilitation Center to enable us reach much more families within a shortest time possible with our project. And in 2022, we rolled out a large-scale, ambitious, sustainable nutrition and agriculture project, providing livelihood support for 1,100 households. And in 2023, we established New Hope Kajokeji Health and Rehabilitation Center to provide holistic care to the returning refugee households in South Sudan in the central Equatorial state. What makes us unique is our holistic approach. We are grounded with 3 pillars. One, we tackle the service provision for the physical well-being that enables people to be more physically active, and they are mobile, meaning that they can contribute in their development in their community. We also provide empowerment opportunities through our agriculture and inclusive livelihood education programs, making sure that the vulnerable groups are self-sufficient and able to participate in their community development projects. We also provide the community-based advocacy work to help us change the community perspective or the perception about the persons living with disability. All this helps us to reduce the stigma and improve on the understanding around the capability of people living with disability. Looking at the Mijale context, yes, it's a huge problem. You know that Uganda hosts about 1.5 million refugees, and many of these refugees, some have opted to reside in an official refugee settlement like Mijale, a place in the northwest Uganda, bordering South Sudan. Yes, in this population, there are over 38,000 people, and they don't receive any official support because there are fewer NGOs providing support of education, healthcare, and livelihood opportunities. Yes, people living with disability have a higher vulnerability rates because of their limitations in most of the work that we do. And with that, they face huge challenge because of the extreme exclusion from most of the community projects. And as a result, they face severe extreme food insecurity, and this affects the outcome for an outgoing person or a living person in such a community. Yes, looking at the high vulnerability and the high levels of food insecurity, if you are NGOs operating in Mijale, yes, our project provides a solution. This is a project that we target to provide 1,100 vulnerable households with agricultural support. Looking at the 3 pillars, one, education, where we are providing mentorship on class and out class to be able to, for the families to be able to produce the food and the crops at a much cheaper source. We also provide, on the cultivation aspect, we provide the land, seeds, and tools so that people can be able to produce their own food. And in the end, they will reduce on the food insecurity. With our empowerment arm, we provide, we form communities, all these persons living with disability into groups, which means that they can share and collaborate to ensure that they work together. Our partners, we have worked with the local organizations, the local government leadership, the Yumbe District Agriculture Production Offices, and then with our most important partners, the National Organization Network, the UNHCR, and Office of the Prime Minister. The local and the national clusters, and then the international partners, the Walkabout Foundation, the Free Wheelchair Mission, that is helping us to provide the mobility devices. And not forgetting IDESIA, that is helping us to provide the plumping out that is used to handle severe forms of chronic disability, like hydrocephalus and then the cerebral palsy that makes most of these children at high risk. with what we do and all that, we anticipate or we expect the following impacts. One, we expect to reduce the hunger of this household by ensuring that families can produce their own food and feed on more than 3 meals a day. We also expect to improve on the food security because we teach these families to produce their own food, and this ensures that they can have food for consumption in their home for a long period of time. We also expect the project to provide sustainable farming approaches by ensuring that we leverage on the most sustainable farming approaches that are climate change and climate smart and are evidence-based and tested so that families can produce crops and keeps the environment healthier. We also expect the improved nutrition. As a result, we provide the training for people to choose the food and also to ensure that they consume a diverse nutrient from the various foods that they will grow. We also expect to increase the income as these families will sell the excess harvest and then use the money to cover some of their basic needs. We do this by linking them to the competitive buyers that will help them, just like we have done to Loku. We also expect to increase the financial stability of this household by ensuring that the families can invest the additional income they have generated into other livelihood opportunities, which is in the form of income generating activity. Yes, with the project, it's a big thing. We expect that the project should reduce the social inclusion as far people living with disability will collaborate, and with the impact, they will be seen as valuable members of their community. This decreasing the stigma and fostering inclusion in Mijale community. What is our sustainability? Yes, our sustainability is grounded on the food security and then the financial stability by ensuring that families can produce the crops for a long time and then they sell the excess harvest so that they can use the money to venture into other income generating activities. Yes, with this, we expect that families will save the seeds, sell the excess harvest, and then form another income generating activity or food source so that they will be able to produce and sustain themselves for a longer period of time. Yes, looking at the competition theme, we are very confident and grounded to the competition theme. Yes, with our education part of the project, we provide long-lasting life skills that with the services and the resources we provide to the families, this enables them to maximize their outcomes of the project that they do. Then we also expect to, with the development arm, to create long-lasting change and reducing inequality and the negativity about the capability of people living with disability. With the human security, this is our core component of the service provision, where we provide a context-specific beneficiary support that enables them to be part of the work that we do and receive more success. Yes, we know that with the 30,000, the interest is huge, but we expect to scale up this project in Kajukeji in South Sudan, where we have identified a huge need because of the returning household after the United Nations World Food Program reducing the food ration. So we expect that we will deliver this project to be able to reduce all the food security and struggles in this family. Thank you so much. Over to you, Francisco.
Thank you very much, Robert, for the presentation. Let's start the Q&A. Who would like to start? Again, anybody connected, please use the Q&A box. But I'm looking at the jury to see if anybody has a burning question. Marta, and then Julie.
Okay, so thanks very much for the presentation and congratulations for the project. So yeah, I mean, I see that you explained very well the how you measure results and also quite well the future impact. So one question that I have in this project is just I'm wondering how you select the specific beneficiaries. No, I mean how you do this is voluntary. Is how it works. So and then I mean other people have questions. So if I have time, I have more, but at least one.
Thank you, Julie.
Just linked to that, and thank you for the excellent presentation. Linked to that question, since you're in an environment, working in an environment where there are refugee community and also the host community, how the selection criteria, any mitigation measures you have in mind to make sure that the selection of beneficiaries is transparent, it doesn't raise any kind of additional tension between these two groups. And the other question I had is, since you're working in it mentioned at some point in the proposal the very dense lack of space, very dense physical space, whether in previous projects you've had any trouble securing the land that you need for the agriculture, and how you go about this, because we've also noticed that the budget allocated to purchasing land, etc., is very low. So how you would handle that? Thank you.
Okay, should we just collect also Ono-san's
Thank you
questions?
so much.
Robert, just give me a second. We'll just club together Ono-san's questions, so then give you the floor. Ono-san.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a similar questions regarding the beneficiaries issues. May I understand that you are trying to target the refugees or displaced person coming from South Sudan to the northern part of Uganda, or you are also trying to include the vulnerable people in the host communities? This is my first question. And related to that, sometimes that the humanitarian support to the refugee people may also kind of bring some complexity to the host community people, because host community people are not necessarily rich. So sometimes that if their support only goes to the refugee people, this may cause some kind of complicated maybe the situation. So are you planning to kind of think together or take a comprehensive approach by integrating both host community people and then refugee people in your activities? This is my question.
Okay, Robert, back to you.
Thank you so much, Francisco. And I want to start from the first question, the selection criteria. The selection criteria, we use the WHO, the World Health Organization Child Index status, where it helps us to score the vulnerabilities of this household. It's not necessary that someone living with disability will be part of this project, but there's another economic aspect and the food insecurity assessment that we score you. And then when we score you, it helps us to know the vulnerability levels of your household before you are enrolled into our livelihood project. Yes, on the selection criteria, where is there any dishonesty, where some people may miss, we say no, because we have a well-trained community-based rehabilitation worker, and before we do most of this data collection to identify the beneficiaries, they are trained for a period of 1 week, making sure that when they collect the information, it is more realistic and evidence-based. And after running our analysis of the beneficiaries, we go back again to follow these beneficiaries on a one-to-one or a home-to-home to identify that what is presented on the data collection analysis output is really evident to what we see on ground, ensuring that we are really very realistic and we pick the most vulnerable and most disadvantaged family. Yes, how do we get the land? Yes, we know that one of our core partner or stakeholder is the Office of the Prime Minister, that is in charge of the coordination of the refugee operation. So it is the Office of the Prime Minister that has always been engaged to ensure that we get the land through the local landlords. And this has been a very easy thing because land is vast, yes, but we need OPM that goes and speaks to the host and the landowners, and this ensure that we get the land at a very much easier and a very formal, using a very formal procedure. Yes, we know that our project fosters more of peaceful coexistence in all that we have been doing, and from the previous projects and the work that we have done, we have used the 70% and 30% ratio for the refugee and the host community respectively. This ensures that the people are part of the project. Yes, for this particular case in Mijale, we have provided support to more than 400 households. And for this particular case, for the Global Development Award, we are looking at strictly supporting the refugee household, because we have seen a huge need and we want to meet that. But there is an ongoing project that is using the ratio of 70 and 30%, ensuring that the beneficiaries are really into harmony with the local community and they are not left. And this is something we have done. I don't know if I was able to leave some questions. Maybe if it has skipped my mind. How about you, Francisco?
Any other questions from the jury? I have to play the role of the moderator. I cannot ask my own questions.
I actually had questions, but I
Brilliant.
think some of the questions have already been asked, so I don't really want to repeat. But I must congratulate Victor. Thank you. Robert, thank you.
Jean-Louis.
Yeah, thank you for that presentation, and thank you also to the jury members for all the questions. I just wanted to know if you had any idea, this is an unfair question, but let me ask it anyway. Do you have any idea of sort of cost effectiveness of your approach for this target population versus other approaches? So did you think of other ways of doing this? And why do you believe that this is the most effective way of doing it? Because I assume that that's what that's your story, your pitch, right? That this is the most cost-effective way of doing it. Or maybe it's not the most cost-effective way, but yeah, so I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay, the most cost-effective method is ensuring that we generate these the solutions based on the community and the most urgent community, I can say the most urgent community needs, where we ensure that the project that we rolled is through their own ownership and through their own interest to participate. And then we ensure that when we roll out this project, it should use the address, actually not the address, but the approach of one, we form them into groups. And when we form them into groups, this fosters collaboration and sharing of the ideas. So with this, we will form about 4 farming groups based on theirs. We will not say, we will not dictate that be in this group, but they will join the groups. And then you select the members that you feel you're compatible to work with. And in the end, people collaborate and their participation is enhanced, and then they work. Then the other approach is the block farming approach, where we have the demo training site. In the demo training site, we provide the practical and hands-on skills that now people can leverage and scale household level. So with this, we have always outcome with the work that we have been rolling in Mijale.
Thank you, Robert. Any other questions from anyone or from the audience? I see nothing else, so I think we can close the Q&A session here, and actually close the public session for the awards for the MIDP category of the Global Development Awards 2023 edition. What happens next? We'll of course close the public session. the jury will meet in a closed door session and will deliberate on who gets, in fact, what prize. Just as a reminder, in this category, we have we basically pick 2 organizations that become first prize winners, ex aequo, who get a chance to then compete at the end of the implementation of the first grant. They get a chance to apply for a scale-up grant of $200,000. So we'll basically be picking 2 institutions who offer the largest potential for scale up, and we'll have those to implement, and then later in 1 year's time compete for a scale up grant. And of course, there'll also be a second, or the third finalist will also get a grant to implement the project. And as we've seen in past years, even that helps organizations tap into other sources of funding. So it's not a punishment in any way, but we do need to pick two first prize winners ex aequo. So I'd like to thank the jury for the time. Thanks to everyone who has been following us online. Of course, thank you and congratulations again to the finalists. The results of the selection will be announced on May 1st, in a couple of weeks, at the event we are co-organizing with INGSA, the International Network for Government Science Advice in Kigali. So stay tuned, check our website, check our social media channels, and good luck to all the finalists.
Thank you to everyone.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.